Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll learn to become a better, more business-savvy designer so you can dominate your competition. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm getting into some really cool features in Acrobat that you probably aren't using. In fact, you may not even know about some of them. So stick around to find out how some of them will save you time and improve your workflow, and then others will just let you do some really cool things. A lot of designers use PDFs for design proofs. I mean, after all, you can export to PDF from like any program, and PDF is cross-platform, so anyone can open it. So it's a really good choice for design proofs. But there's a lot more that you can do with Acrobat that you may not know about. Let's get into 11 Acrobat features that will save you time, or like I said, are just really cool. The first one is find out where a PDF originated from. A PDF always comes from some other program. No one just creates a PDF in Acrobat and just starts typing in text and adding images. It comes from somewhere else, like InDesign or Word or Excel. You can easily figure out which program the PDF was exported from by going to File and then Properties and then Description. It will show you the name of the application and the version number, and if it was created on a Mac or PC, and then the date it was created and even modified, and some other details. I found this helpful in a few situations, such as when the client said that they weren't sure what application the file was created in, and I needed to have the original file. And that can help them find the document on their end, meaning if it was created in Word, maybe that person created it. But if it came from InDesign, they have to ask their designer for the file. The second thing is you can find out the page size. If you hover your cursor in the lower left-hand corner of the document window in Acrobat, you'll see the page size. I tell clients about this feature so they can check the size of the pieces that they're proofing. And this is particularly helpful when they have something like a direct mail package to proof, where there's different pieces and they're all different sizes. But it's also helpful if a client sends you a PDF from, let's say, another business, and they like that PDF, and they want to do something in that same size. The third one is you can find out the fonts. So if you need to find out the typefaces that were used in that document, you can go to File, Properties, and then Fonts. And this will show you a list of the fonts used. Now, this only applies to live text, not any text that might appear in an image or that might have been converted to outlines. I like to use this to find out which fonts that we might need to use for a client's project if we're using their existing branding, and that way the fonts are consistent. I also like this feature to double check for any extraneous fonts that may have been used somewhere in the document that we want to get rid of. Now, it's not going to show you where they're used in the document, but you can go back to InDesign to find that out. The fourth one is editing a PDF. Not only can you edit a PDF directly within Acrobat by going to Tools and then Edit PDF, but you can open a PDF in Illustrator and edit any text or vector elements easily. And so for vector, I mean anything that's like a line drawing or shapes, something that's not a raster image. And the text is easy to edit as long as you have the font and it's active, and if the text wasn't converted to outlines first. You can check to see if it was converted to outlines by going into the PDF and then selecting the text. If you can select it, it wasn't converted, and it's live text in the PDF. Okay, this next one I'm really excited about. This might be one of my favorite tips, and I think you might agree after you try it out for yourself, and that is to export to Word. Wait, what? Why would anybody want to export to Word? But hear me out. You know that feeling when a client asks for something to be done in Word? I mean, you just groan, right? It's awful. Word is just not a page layout program. Designers do not want to work in it. It's clunky. But did you know you could actually design something in InDesign, export it to a PDF, and then export that to a Word document? I'm not kidding. I've done this and it works amazing. When I did it, the front cover was in precise position on the first page. Was no like monkeying around with, different pieces of it. And then the text in the whole document was all live text, so it was editable. And what's really crazy is that the paragraph styles that I originally had used in InDesign, like heading 1, heading 2, and body text, those were all included in the styles palette in Word. And the master page items that I had used for the running headers and footers showed up as a header and footer in the Word document. So next time your client needs a Word document, consider doing this rather than spending additional time and frustration trying to accomplish the same thing in Word. You can also export to a slew of other formats too, like HTML, but oftentimes clients will ask you for Word documents, and I think this is a fantastic way to get around it, or to still give them a Word document, but that you don't have to deal with the anguish of dealing with Word. The 6th feature is Scan and OCR. You can convert images of text to live editable text, and this is found under Tools and then Scan and OCR. I had a client send a financial document from their accountant for use in their annual report, and I needed a text version. They said the accountants wouldn't provide that, so I ran OCR on it in Acrobat. Of course, after I did that and spent hours checking it, they decided to comply and send the text version. Go figure. Anyway, I find the OCR feature to be pretty accurate, but it will depend on the quality of the text. If there's any text that's blurry or in a script typeface, it may not be as accurate. And you should always proofread it when you're done. But it's very cool. And that brings me to the Compare Files feature, number 7. You can compare files in Acrobat. I love this too. I like to use this to compare the original PDF, like with one I just ran OCR on, for instance. But I've also used it to compare a previous design proof with the most recent one to make sure nothing changed other than the edits I made. And I've also used it to compare a PDF I made from a client's Word document against a design proof that I'm about to send to make sure that no content was left out. I suggested one designer in my Design Domination Facebook group use this feature to find the edits her client had made by directly editing the PDF. They didn't mark the edits, they just edited the PDF, so she couldn't tell what the heck had changed. You can use this feature to look for differences in text only, or also look for styling discrepancies too. Number 8 is adding bookmarks. You can add bookmarks to make it easy for the reader to navigate the document. It's like a built-in table of contents. And I went over this in episode 99, how to make PDF and print documents more user-friendly. But you can then set them up to always show when the file is opened. You go to File and then Properties and Initial View and then Bookmarks panel and page. You can also add them manually in the PDF, or you can use what's called a Preflight Fixup to do so. And speaking of Preflight Fixups, there are a ton of these available in Acrobat that you probably don't know about. And they're found by going to Edit and then Preflight. So like I said, there's one to add bookmarks. Once you go into the Preflight feature, select Acrobat DC 2015 Profiles. Select the wrench icon, and then type in bookmarks. Then you'll see Create Bookmarks from Headings. There's also one for converting spot colors to CMYK. There are also several accessibility fix-ups as well, such as to fix the alternative description missing for an annotation and PDF UA identifier missing errors. These and many other issues are easily resolved by running a fix-up. I recommend checking out the options that you have for the fix-ups because you'll save so much time if there's a fix-up available for what you're trying to do. Number 10 is Get Edits. And you might already be doing this. You can use Acrobat to easily get edits in a PDF. Clients can add sticky notes and they can cross out things or highlight text. Even if they don't have the full version of Acrobat, they can still review and comment on them. It didn't used to be that way. But you can use the Send for Comments feature. And I went into this in depth in episode 71, How to Manage Client Revisions to Design Proofs. Using a PDF to get edits makes it faster for you to make them because you can see where they appear in the layout. Few things are more irritating than a client emailing you to change paragraph 5 of page 10, which ends up changing after you made other edits. Getting edits with the Send for Comments feature is also helpful when more than one person needs to review the document. Instead of sending it to just your main contact, you can send it to multiple people. They'd otherwise need to add their notes and then save the PDF and then send it off to the next person, and they can't see all the edits at once, which makes it harder for them to discuss. So I like this feature for sending to multiple recipients. The caveat is that if they have notes for each other, you'll see that, in comments in the PDF. I prefer they just duke it out amongst themselves and then provide only the edits that I need to know about. But it's fine. And then number 11 is protect the PDF. You can add some sort of protection or security to the PDF. The first is by adding a password. You go to File and then Protect using Password, and then select whether the password is needed to view or edit the document. You can also add copyright information to a PDF to try to discourage copyright offenders, or just to stake your claim. Like, what if somebody comes across that document and they want to know who did it? Your name and URL will be there. So you go to File, Properties, and then select Additional Metadata. You can change the status to say copyrighted or public domain or whatever, and then add in text for your copyright notice and a hyperlink to the copyright notice or to your website. You can add a watermark to discourage someone from copying too. Go to Tools and then Edit PDF and then Watermark. And then you can add, update, or remove the watermark. If you're adding one, you can add it in the form of text or an image. You can adjust the size, opacity, the angle it's being shown at, and some other things. It's really cool. And this can come in handy if you're distributing a PDF of your portfolio, for example. I have a client who wants a watermark on certain versions of their publications, so I created a watermark with their logo and then some text that they wanted added to it in Illustrator. And then I saved it as a PDF, and I keep that to reuse in other versions of their publications. You can actually place security settings on the document, and these will prevent the reader from taking certain actions, such as printing the document, changing it, copying the content from it, extracting pages, commenting, filling out form fields, or signing it. To turn on any or all of these settings, you go to File and then Properties. Now, you'll need to set a password and make sure that you record it somewhere or save a copy of the PDF without it in case you ever need it to get into it again to modify those settings. You don't want to end up being locked out of your PDF. I have a client we do publications for, and they're concerned with document security. So we have to turn on these settings for all of their PDFs that will be distributed online. Now, none of these methods are foolproof, of course. Somebody could get around them if they really wanted to, but most users don't know how to do that and aren't going to do that. So these are still useful in many situations. I've got screenshots of some of these on the episode page, so be sure to go to creative-boost.com/podcast and check those out. So there you have it, 11 time-saving Acrobat tips, or ones that are just really cool. Are you using any of these features already? Are you excited to try out certain ones? Let me know. Send me an email at colleen@creative-boost.com. Comment on the episode page, or comment in the Design Domination Facebook group. It's an awesome community of designers of all skill levels who share tips, share their work, get advice, and help one another.